Good morning, everybody. Well, after days of going nowhere, well, the gap up wasn't caused by those economic numbers, which did absolutely nothing to move the markets. Kind of surprised, but gold continues to move higher. This is where the real bull market is. And I was just discussing with Dan, like, this is in the ETF letter, like, where do we put the stop? And like with any move like this, you see it getting short term extended. It's at new all-time highs. It's very likely to go higher. And so you don't want to go too tight because, as the saying goes, the trend is your friend, but it's gotten a little short term extended here. It's likely to correct a bit, but what's the choice? You go too tight, get stopped out, goes higher. And so support is down here. Got to figure there are going to be buyers on dips. So we're just going to have to wait a little bit to see. How do we know? We don't know. So it's up here this morning. It's jiggling around. Probably a little profit taking, but it looks amazing. So, this came out of this consolidation. The wide range bar ignited it here. There was this little consolidation chop and continuation wide range bar. Now, if we were to get a wide range bar today where it pushed higher, at least we'd have some kind of a reference point that might make sense to sell off some. But looks fantastic. And, we just have to hope it keeps going. Intelligent hope mode. It looks amazing. Uh, Silver playing some catch up here. It's up at these pivot highs, but that might just be starting to get going with that catch up kind of a trade. So we'll see how the reaction is to those pivot highs. I'm going to get to S&Ps and all that, but oil is down here. It was some news I read. Saudis taking off restrictions. They were going to pump more, right? So this going down, you know, news, that kind of thing aside, this pattern is one that could potentially set up a double bottom or a W type of a bottom, which we define as an accelerated move to the downside. It makes the turn. This is like a wide range bar ending, right? And so now this is the shallow retracement toward minor resistance, and it's coming down to retest. So there's nothing to do at the moment but to wait and see if it forms a reversal here in the coming days. And should it do that into next week, I don't know what gold is anticipating. We could say, the war situations, what's going on around there. There's more news about, now Biden woke up from a slumber and is calling for a 21-day ceasefire. Israel saying no way, and more bombs shooting off there. That's just an unknown. So far, it's kind of like, okay, everybody's watching. Bombs are going off. What other kind of bomb could possibly go off, or what could happen? Let's hope nothing. Let's hope for the best that it stops. But there is that out there that is a concern, of course. Yeah. So, we'll watch this in the coming days. We've covered that it's down at the bottom of this trading range. So it's interesting to see whether this actually ignores an increase in supply and turns back up again, defying what would seem logical that it'll keep going down, or maybe it will. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. All right. So let's look at SPY. So it was already up here, on the semi news. It had gapped up, and on the economic news, it just flipped around back and forth, regained, coming back up to the highs. So that's all good. It's gapping above this little consolidation. So after, a consolidation like this, gapping above it suggests it's going to keep going. Of course, go to where? Well, You figure the next thing, and look at SPX, it should go up to 5,800 or so, maybe more. People are saying 6,000. All of a sudden, where it was 5,400, then 5,600, then 58, 6,000. Look, all we know is what the chart says. It was whipping around here like crazy. Now it moves up. It takes out the highs. It rests for several days. It's gapping above that. It's supposed to keep going. And the charts right now, pre-market, say it's going to. Now, it better not come back down here because we've seen what happens when we have a resting period. Prices clear it, and then they come back down into it. That would be a bad sign. Now, there's other economic numbers coming tomorrow. There's a PCE. I doubt anything of significance is going to happen today as far as this failing. And maybe tomorrow continues to push it higher into new all-time highs. So as we discuss every day what's happening pre-market and what preceded it, it creates a new or adds to our thoughts, our belief system, as we call it. We look at charts that create our trading plan is a belief system. So the belief is after a move up above resistance and a consolidation, taking out that consolidation says it should continue to go higher. Black and white. Internals are not at an extreme. The continuation could put them at an extreme, probably would, but we don't have that yet. Now, I have to go over here and look at the equity put call ratio, which is just beginning to tickle into these upper bands here. But breadth has come down near the zero line during this consolidation. So we do not have alignment. It's a good thing. So even though this is beginning to get to an extreme, the total is not. Breadth is at a neutral level. Prices are gapping up. We have that alignment here to support that they can continue. Right. Is that semiconductors? MU reported they're gapping up to this pivot high. It's a pretty sizable gap. I think we should see some type of profit taking. It did come from this low. It's up here now at resistance. And so now we want to see the reaction. There's been no negative reaction here pre-market whatsoever. So maybe more catch-up trades like, Intel or others that underperformed that can continue to move higher. So we'll be looking at those today. But, weekly chart, retested that low, came back up again. It's up at the pivot high. Let's see the reaction so far. Continues to be positive. And of course, the Qs have to be up. And you can see they're moving higher here this morning. And there's an unfilled gap here, right? Which it's filling the gap. So be aware of that. And now it's creating a void on the gap up. So up close to 500, a whole number. Keep that in mind. You can see the weekly chart has a pivot high there. As long as things hold together, and what does that mean, hold together? Well, it doesn't come all the way back down here. Ideally, it doesn't come back down here today to fill the gap. It holds up there. So anytime you get a gap up toward a resistance area, the bullish case or pattern would be for it. It may chop around. There may be some selling or profit taking, but generally it holds up and we see it create support at a higher level. Creating support means it's going to make a pivot. And we'll look for that to happen on intraday timeframes. And then as long as things continue in the trend that's there, we may probably would see the Qs make new all-time highs. Roberto's saying SMH looks more like a Head and Shoulders than the Qs on weekly chart. Well, you mean like, I guess, a Head and Shoulders top. But look at what it's doing. It's up at the pivot high. So one of the things, and I've mentioned this before, I've seen a lot of Head and Shoulders tops, and I've seen a lot of them follow through and break the neckline, which you would have to do. That's a long way from here. But I can remember back in the 90s, Dell Computer. I mean, it went private at one time, it's back. I remember reading in Barron's. There's just certain things that just stick in your mind over the years as you develop and learning about the markets. And everybody was fixated on a weekly Head and Shoulders top. And it didn't follow through. And it took out the right shoulder. And Dell went up with a vengeance. Because Head and Shoulders tops are distribution patterns. Who creates those patterns? Institutions. It's a belief. And when their beliefs fail, they have to flip in the other direction. And that drives it higher. So I see what you're seeing, but it's so far away from any kind of movement lower. And to me, this looks like it's going higher. All right, let's get to SPY. You can see it's gapping up, whipped around, gapping up there. SPX. You would think the downside is a no-brainer, right? It's gapping up above the highs here, but it's kind of close. All right. And it's bullish. It could go higher, but this strike is above a whole number. And so you go back and look, see where it is here. Yeah, still the same. And this stayed the same after the number. But this came up a little bit. So, a little bit more, I think it's bullish that the strike came up a bit. Let's just see where that is, 57, 57.10. Yeah, still, almost $1, give or take. So I don't expect things to fail. So, but this is relatively close. I'm not too comfortable with that. If it was down below here, I think it'd be a no-brainer, but it's not. Could this head up there today? One of the things we're going to look at here as the markets open is, which we always do, is which the high volume strike. And if the high volume strike, they start buying strikes up here, when we see that volume, that would suggest it could go up there. So be careful with this today. I mean, I don't think it'll go down here. Everything's a thought, a belief. So, we'll assess this as the market opens up after 5 or 10 minutes or so. 13-week is lower again, right? Is the market still believing they're going to cut next month? 100%. And as this continues to decline, just like we thought when before the other cut came, this said they were going to cut half a point. And this is beginning to suggest they may do it again. I mean, just look at that vertical drop. Maybe that's one of the reasons why gold continues to go higher. So there's no evidence of this turning around. You can see other interest rates there are down. Transports kind of all over the place, just a mess. What else can you say? Just stay away. But we always take a peek at what's trading the stocks within there to see if, as far as bottoming action. How's the weather in Florida? Great for ducks. Frenchie, great for ducks. Where Dan and I are, we're not in the eye of the storm, but we're getting a lot of rain because we're down south. So, it's a little wet out there. Thank you for asking. Qs, futures, consolidation at resistance. This is a perfect example of what you want to see at resistance. Move up into it. Sellers are there. It goes sideways. It's breaking out. It's going higher. Unless it goes under here and there's, no evidence of that yet. They're going to keep buying it. You're at Miami Beach, just extreme winds. Miami Beach. I am in Sunny Isles Beach. Nana's in Fort Lauderdale. So we're neighbors, Juan. Right. Dow underperforming was a red bar yesterday. So far, just consolidating. No biggie. Russell, kind of maybe getting ready to go. Pretty messy still. Weekly looks okay. Um, so one of the things I was interested in here is, these financials are coming down into where buyers should step up. This is getting um, a little deep here, but it's gapping up. So we're going to keep an eye on this for a turn day. The angle of retracement's a bit steep, but if we can get a green day here, that would be a positive because we want to see the markets when they're going up like this fire on all cylinders. So here's XLF. Is that going to be an M top or is it just going to be a stall where it's ready to move higher? So not sure yet. We shall see. Um, internet, FDN moving up. So lots of positives. That's at resistance. And you know, should go higher until proven otherwise. So we'll see how this unfolds today. And that's about it. So everything looks like it's going to go higher. Not everything, but most things, and that's good. Semis are up at that resistance area, so trade it accordingly. Get your spots, pullbacks to resistance or continuation patterns. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Let's adjust Netflix here. So yeah, MU put the market in a good mood last night in the semis. And maybe Alex, you know what's going on, but I think the bigger excitement, which is causing, yes, definitely in China, as they're doing more stimulus and everything. And so China stocks are rocking. And David Tepper was on CNBC pounding the table on China stocks, but we noticed the gap up a week ago. The chart said, I don't know, I'm posting this to Telegram. Remember we were talking about going core long BABA and K-Web. 1 second, get those to you here. All right, adjusting that. So yeah, we have 2 trades on this, a put spread on Netflix, and we're long stock. So this would be a good one that starts stalling. Actually, this is not a big gap relative to many other things. Looking at all the things, every one of them's up, Nvidia's up, everything's up. They're in a good mood, whatever. Micron and China. This is a party today for them. Look at alarms first. We have a put spread in SMH, and we also in our ETF letter, we're long SMH. We told them to sell a third at the market open. We'll stop under this little base for now. VFC alarm. This was a buy setup we were watching. So the entry is over, what's today? Thursday, Tuesday's high as a buy setup. NRG, we have a put spread. We'll look to take our profits today. PF. I'm shocked. Oil's weak, but I know OPEC is a big component of that, obviously, supply and demand. But with all this war stuff going on in the Middle East, Israel, Lebanon, all right, this we're already in MTNX, but we said we could add over this. It's building a little inverse head and shoulder. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I know. I think they're selling the economics. Whenever he starts talking at 9:31. But you said opening remarks. I don't know if that was printed release or did he start talking early? All right, Intel, we've been watching for a while for bottoming. That's gapping up, not doing anything. CMG is a pending trade, which is gapping over the entry. And I don't want to miss it. So I say just buy half lot at the open. TMX, MXG. All right, those are all my alarms. Yeah, so that's some. Yeah, I mean they're having a party today. We have a ton of open positions. The only two shorts that we have, Zoom Z. I don't see any gaps. Ideally, it'll open flat and can add yesterday's low. WBA, opening week, we're long puts in this. And I went ahead and tightened the stop to 842. For those of you who might be in it, and now lock in again on the back part. Let's look at earnings here, and we know about Jeffrey's call spread idea, 10-minute low, CNX. Oh, that's a big gap. I got CMG, the other computer, CNXC. See where buyers want to step up. No pattern. ACN 3 gapping right to yesterday's high. So now it's range bound. So I don't have a bias. JBL. Now this is such a big gap and it's run a lot. So Don, I know you like doing these with me. This is a candidate for a 1 DTE call spread. I'm gonna put JBL there. I'll put MU on the other computer. KMX, $70. Wow, I think was I considering selling 70s? I forget. I didn't do any earnings trades yesterday. I had my dad in Q's long. So I'm going to be watching that. And I've been selling 0 DTEs against it, which has been kind of fun because he don't care about the underlying. So probably 2-minute low. With this gap up, even the 0 DTEs are going to be jacked. I think I'll see how expensive they are, but I'm thinking 495, 496, whatever. Just go. Somebody told me the other day about the hours that you could trade these index ETFs. At 9:15. I know they trade until 4:15, but somebody in the green room said you can trade them pre-market also. Now they're adjusted because I looked a few minutes ago and they weren't updated. Now they are. Wow, I could do, you know what? I'm going to do it right freaking now. The 488s are $1.19. And how come he didn't film me? All right, sorry, you all. I gotta hit day. No, there's not a day in force thing. Dude, I don't know why. I gotta call them. All right, I tried to sell calls against them right now, and they're not taking my order. Dude. All right, let's continue. Yeah, I know. I think that's gonna get worse. I mean, so SPR, what a piece of garbage. And that's it on those. Now it's just my miscellaneous watch list. Monroe, 1, 2, 3. I have an alarm. PSX we talked about. Netflix we talked about. I'm going to be looking to leg into a covered call. So all these Chinese stocks are on fire. Look at BABA. So right on this igniting gap day, we talked about a core long. And I think the only reason I didn't give it, as I said, it's China, you got China risk, although right now China is a tailwind, obviously the last week or so, and particularly today. But these Chinese stocks are ripping. I don't know if Beaky is China or not, but look at that bottoming pattern. JD, there's no entry here. It's a climb up. And see that this is kind of a good lesson also. This gap looked too big for me on this first gap day. I was looking for a little controlled pullback. And look, you thought that gap was big. What about this one? All right, thanks. Futu. I mean, these are all beautiful monthly charts. Qs with no about, semis with no about. So here's FXI China. Same. This was an igniting gap. We were talking about this in the green room. C is a restaurant, but it's ripping. NRG we talked about. VFC. Let me go up here. RTX gapping down, but that was, I think it's just risk on right now. So Hubs. Hubs. Here you go, Greg. Hubs gap breakout. So that's 30-minute high. I had an alarm at 5:36. Let's watch old Hubs. Ba, I like a lot. This is bullish consolidation after breakout. I don't see any prints, but Ba looks fantastic. I'll put him in another window. I can see the opening print. YouTube, Neil. Neil wants $70 $7 in my opinion. That's very, very possible. Very possible. I mean, it had a closing breakout, ugly day. Now it's gapping over it. It's very possible. I'll put it on the list. All right, where do we leave off? CMG until some of these metals were gapping up, and I was watching them pull back. Now it's gapping up again. Arch. All right, so this one's a little closer to support. So Arch, I like. Senex, I like. All right, I went through all those. I might be done. Levi, up alarm. Let's move stop here. 2076, Levi. Oh, that made him first target. That's why the alarm went off. All right, so it opened up. Opening price 21.27. Oh shoot, my cues. I gotta sell calls. Darn it. All right, the 495s are all right. I'm gonna sell the 490. All right, I sold the 495 calls and I didn't get filled. There, I got filled. I'll adjust these later. 76. Dropbox. Up alarm. We entered yesterday. HCA. HCA, I had an alarm at break even. 405.71. Yeah, let's kill this thing break even. 405. Maybe we get lucky and it runs from here. But otherwise, I said 5-minute low. We'll take some profits on the SMH. All right, so yeah, nice rolling into my calls. All right, SMH. All right, the midpoint right now, 31 cents. I'm gonna take it. All right. All right, I'm out. Like, let's just take our money on SMH.
T triple Q's taking out the pre-market support here. Microsoft come down hard. KRE, other bank financials. And see if they hold the gap.
Hey Don, let's check Micron also for call spread, just excessive gap. And what's that other one I said? I forgot. Stable, yeah, let me look. You know, my memory yesterday's MT Live. I gotta focus on open trades first. And then other alarms. And we sold, I told you, we sold a third of our SMH in the ETF letter. Thanks. Yeah, I wish I had, my only regret is we didn't put it in the advisory letter also. All right, let's see. MU. It's not ready yet. That's a big old bullish gap, but maybe 30-minute low. Just because it's one day, I wouldn't do it for more than one day.
5-minute topping tail and it's taken out the low.
So you're okay with a call spread now?
How far away is it? I mean, you got to set up on the 5-minute.
115 is a 95 cents naked. So $5 wide, 70 cents.
Pretty close.
Oh, right, but it's always the situation is, even if I go farther away, where's your stop? So it would have to be one of these one-to-one situations.
Well, I would say, yeah. I mean, the setup's there. I mean, it doesn't have to fill the gap or anything to it to be profitable. T triple Q's continuing to dive. NASDAQ futures took out all that support.
Mm-hmm.
Intel's going down toward the gap fill. See what that does.
All right, WBA stopping out, which is fine. Take our money. We got October $9 puts. Monroe, John. 5. Oh man, look at Netflix slammed and filled the gap in an ugly manner. Remember I said I wanted to sell calls on them? But I AES. Yeah, yeah, bull rectangle breakout. CDP. Yeah, prior high. OLN. Yeah, it's a mover. You know, up a lot from the prior lows. I think I like your other one better. Bull rectangle. Man, a lot of these fangs getting slammed into the gap or more. Look at Microsoft.
Not NVIDIA.
Yeah, poor AMD. Man, AMD looks like it's going to $1.75. This NTNX we're in looks great. Uber, low alarm, but it's early. Jabil. Yeah, no pattern yet. Oh, shoot, I just got a tornado warning on my telephone, my TV.
Inside.
Roberto, it totally depends on the magnitude of the gap in the pattern. Is it an exhaustion gap or an igniting gap? Today was a big old gap, and then the morning, and then you look at pre-market chart, you look at the internals for daytime, tick extreme, blah blah, and you look at the first 5 minutes and see how it's reacting to the gap. It could have been a gap and go. I have no idea. But selling started right prior to the market open, and now we have 15-minute ugly bars, and so that gives you a bias of more, you better start taking some profits on some things that have run a lot. Uber. $6.74. So, I mean, look at Uber, for example. Look at Uber. Look at the size of the daily bar. Size of the daily bar in 12 minutes. Do you see that? That should not have happened. So it was a new, multi-month high rejection. So I'd be getting the heck out of Dodge on this thing. So we're out of our put spread, break even, and we have long calls. All right, so we gotta, yeah, start taking, I didn't tighten the stop yet. We have October 4, $75 calls. Which we now have a loss and they're spready. So something's up with Uber. So let's move stop here, 75.96, which looks inevitable. So did that help a little bit? Greg, talking about tornadoes. Did you see that little black boy walking home over the weekend got struck and killed by lightning
Wow.
in
No,
South Florida?
I didn't see that. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, we're in it already, Alex, but yeah, it looks like a great ad. Yeah. Uber hit, stop. And I told you it looked inevitable. $75 calls. To 20. Zoom Z. I'll give it a little more room. Oh, that's not my stuff. Iridium. Not me. It's run too much. At the 200. For me, I'd want it to go sideways a few more bars. Levi. Up alarm. Let's move stop below 2091.